Hey, what's up? This video is all about habits that you can implement for a successful shopping ban. Now, if you're buying things that you don't actually need and spending way more money than really necessary, then it might be time to implement a shopping ban. And it's my hope that these habits will help you to have a more successful one. So let's get into it. Oh, and I also posted a post about this very topic on my blog. I'm gonna put a link into the description box that you can check out. Without further ado, let's get into the habits. The first habit that I highly recommend is to plan all your purchases a year in advance. I recently made a video about this. I've been doing this for years and I find it incredibly empowering. Why would anyone plan all their purchases a year in advance? Well, it helps with spreading things out. It gives me a lot of time to look for things, and it also helps me to not purchase anything on impulse because everything is planned and accounted for. If you want to know more about how I do it, then head to my blog. I've got a post about it on there, and I've also, as I said, made a whole separate video about this very topic. I think planning all your purchases in advance can be incredibly helpful, especially if you've never done it before. It definitely changed the game for me, and I've been now doing it for years and absolutely love it. Habit number 2 is quite easy, and yet I don't know a lot of people personally who actually do it. And that is keep track of all your expenses. I've been saying this in loads of videos, and I'm a huge advocate on keeping track of your expenses and on coming up with your own system. Yes, I know some banks help you track your money, some credit card companies do so as well. However, a lot of the times the categories cannot be customized, they're only to a certain extent, and my recommendation is simply to come up with your own system, really. And no, I'm actually not fond of using Excel. I use Google Sheets. I find it very intuitive, very easy to use, and no matter where I am, I can access it. I freaking love it. I've been tracking my expenses since 2014 and highly recommend it. I've also recently started sharing my expenses with you again. I did this in the past on YouTube, and I'm now doing it on my blog. So far, I've got my September expenses up, my October expenses up, and depending on when I upload this video, I may also have my November expenses online. Habit number 3 is to create a retired items spreadsheet. Now, creating a spreadsheet in itself is of course not a habit. However, using it definitely is. I recently made a video about this. I also created a post about this. This is not something that I've been doing for years. This is something that I recently started doing. This habit is inspired by one of you. I was incredibly intrigued and interested, and I now keep track of everything that I own. Now, I don't keep track of consumables. I mostly keep track of clothing, electronics, and little bits and bobs that I find useful to keep track of. Why do I do this? Well, I simply want to know how long exactly something lasts me and why it didn't last as long. It allows me to take notes, and it allows me to be even more mindful. Now, while I do keep track of everything, of course, on a day-to-day basis in my expenses spreadsheets, figuring out for how long I actually had an item can be really difficult because I literally have to go through years and years of spreadsheets. And then there are items that I had for longer than 5 years, and it's usually difficult to determine when I exactly bought these very items. Starting this spreadsheet is just going to make everything a whole lot easier. So if you don't have a retired item spreadsheet, and you are into spreadsheets, of course, because it is something very specific, then do give it a try and let me know how it goes. Habit number 4 is something that I've been doing for years. Always ask yourself if something is fulfilling a need or a want. Whenever I'm about to purchase something, or whenever I'm planning to purchase something, I ask myself, is this item going to fulfill a need or a want? And the lines between the two can of course be blurry. For example, I know that the piercings that I've recently gotten aren't necessary for my survival, of course. I don't need them. However, I find them aesthetically pleasing, and I'm all about self-expression. And body modification, of course, can play a huge role in that. And so I went and got pierced. And of course, you can be consciously aware that this particular item is going to fulfill a want, and you can be okay with that. What's important is to be aware, and that I cannot stress enough. Whether you act on it or not, just being aware of your wants and your needs is life-changing, really. Habit number 5 is to make buying used your default. I live in t-shirts and leggings, and I prefer them to be black and made out of cotton, preferably organic cotton. It's just my personal preference. And finding those things used can of course be very, very difficult. That being said, I've recently found a pair of black jeans that I've been looking for a while, and I found them used. I also found the camera that I'm filming with used, and I also purchased my laptop that I've now had for over a year, I believe, used. So yes, while I struggle to find certain items used, there are a million other things that I know I can easily buy used. Making used my default, meaning whenever I do need something, I look for it used first, and should I not be able to find it used, then I know where to go to find it new. Has really made all the difference. Not only does it save me money, it also has made me a lot more conscious, because yes, sometimes looking for something is really just that. You are looking for something, and it feels more than a hunt, and it's not as easy as clicking and buying or going to a store and buying something. And it's certainly made me more aware of what I do buy and what I don't buy. So yes, making used your default can make all the difference. Habit number 6, cook your own food. I don't even particularly like cooking, however, I do love knowing what's in my food. I love cooking with certain ingredients, and I just enjoy the process of making food. Although, as I said, I'm not a lover of cooking, really. Cooking can save you a lot of money. It can make you a lot more conscious what's actually in your food, and it can make you a lot healthier, provided of course that you cook healthy meals and not a bunch of crap. So yes, cook your own meals, it's going to make all the difference. Habit number 7 is to exercise at home. A couple years ago, I started doing yoga, Ashtanga yoga, at home. I love doing yoga, and I started doing it at home because I wanted to do it more often, and I wanted to do it on my own terms. I absolutely love it. I do it almost every day, and it's been one of the best things ever that I've ever done. So if you want to start exercising on a regular basis, then make it easy on yourself. And if making it easy on yourself means exercising at home, then exercise at home. Now, habit number 8 is to declutter your inbox on a regular basis. Every Sunday, I have a weekly review process, and among other things, one of the things that I do on a weekly basis is decluttering my inbox, meaning I go through every single email and either delete it without responding, respond, or put it somewhere because it doesn't need an immediate response. It may not need a response at all. However, for whatever reason, it is worth keeping, and so I hold on to it. I do that every Sunday. I just sit down for maybe 10 minutes, respond to all my emails, and that's it. Now, habit number 9 is read great books. I'm huge on reading, and yet, as of right now, I don't own a single book. I just love reading. I head to the library, well, I used to head to the library every week, and these days, because I'm on this year-long trip, I simply go to an app that I use that's connected to my library, and I read all the books that I read on my phone. And yes, I've done that for a while, and I have no issues with it. I enjoy reading, and I always make it a point to seek out other people's book recommendations. I also started sharing my favorite books on my blog, and reading is just a huge part of my life. So start a regular reading habit. And habit number 10 is the last one, and that would be think long term when it comes to money. Yes, sometimes I see something at a store and I'm like, oh, beautiful. Then I take a step back, think long term, and I'm like, well, actually, no, I look at my wants, I look at my needs, I look at my approved shopping list, I look at all these things, and looking at everything in a rational manner just really helps me. I also oftentimes think about my future self. What is my life going to look like in 10, 20, 30 years? What needs will I have? And will what I'm about to spend now serve me better 20, 30 years from now? Just food for thought, really. I always aim to think long term when it comes to money because, yes, there's always money to be made. However, that's not an excuse to just waste it on things that don't really matter. And looking at my values also helps with that, especially when I'm in doubt or thinking about something. I just look at my values, and that usually immediately makes things very, very clear for me. That was it for my 10 habits that I think would really help you during your shopping ban. If you're currently doing a shopping ban, let me know how it's going. Have a lovely day and see you next time.